So I'd been studying psychology for a while, and to be honest, I was a bit disappointed because I thought that psychology would have all the answers about how we work, how to get the best out of ourselves, how to have bulletproof well-being, and just all the answers to life. And it was lacking in some areas. I started studying philosophy and mindfulness and spirituality because I knew that psychology didn't have all the answers. And it was when I came across something called the three principles that it was the missing piece of the jigsaw and everything just clicked. So the study of psychology and the blending of the three principles really helps make sense of 100% of our psychological experience of life. So using the three principles, we can have a better life. We can have greater well-being. We can have true confidence. We can have better performance and create better results in the world. It's, it's kind of like this. I was playing a game recently with my family, and we were away on holiday, and it was my extended family. I had my brothers come, my sister come, my dad come, and we were playing this new board game. Now, most of us hadn't played it before, and it soon became evident that my dad wasn't doing very well at the game. And we realised it was because he didn't actually understand how the game worked. We'd all taken the time before we played the game to understand the rules and see how it worked. And my dad was a bit distracted. And we were playing the game better because we knew how it worked. Once we took the time out and explained to my dad, this is how it works, he started playing the game better. I think of this as life is a game. And when you understand how the game works, you tend to play better. So the three principles helps us understand how the game works. And we can use the psychology. I'm not throwing all the psychology out. I learned a tremendous amount about how our psychology works and how we create our personalities. But using the three principles, we can understand all of how we work. So let's take a look now. So the three principles are three principles, fundamental laws, if you like, about how we have a psychological experience. We have the principle of universal mind. Universal mind is basically the magic of life itself. It is what animates us. It is the gift of aliveness that we all have, that is all animating our spirits, and it is the intelligence behind life. It's what grows flowers, it's what grows trees, it's what grows us. And we don't tend to have to do anything to breathe, to have our hearts beat. There is a magic behind life that kind of fuels us. You could call it spirit, you could call it the force, you could call it God, although some people get offended by that term because of conditioning. But there is a magic behind life, a power that animates us, and that is the principle of universal mind. There's also the principle of consciousness. You could call it awareness. It is the fact that we have an ability to be aware of the experience we're having. We have the ability to have a low awareness and low consciousness where we're kind of just drifting through life, or maybe you've been eating a packet of crisps or sweets or driving and you haven't even really been present. You can have low awareness, but you can have a very high level of awareness and consciousness as well. And you can be aware that you're having an experience, and that experience is being created by the principle of thought. Now, thought is not thinking. Thinking is kind of like the content of your thinking. That's positive thoughts, negative thoughts, whatever you're thinking. What I'm talking about here is the power of thought. Now, thought is kind of like the creative medium through which you both create and perceive your experience and therefore your reality. So we know that if we have 10 people, let's say, in a room, all 10 people could have a totally different experience of what's happening in the room. That's because of the principle of thought. We can perceive our experience through consciousness, but we create our experience through thought. So what that means is it means that we're not perceiving the world as it is. There's not some objective world that we're perceiving. We're creating our reality through how we're looking. So if you want to know how you're creating your reality, have a look at how life is occurring to you. If life is occurring to you as difficult or stressful, then that has at least something to do with how you're looking at it. And actually, it has everything to do with how you're looking at it. But if relationships are occurring to you as challenging, if they're occurring to you as stressful, then there's something in the way that you're looking at relationships. If work is occurring to you as hard, then there's something in that about the way that you're looking. So someone asked me recently, well, how do I know what I'm thinking? Well, you know how you're thinking based on how things are occurring to you, but also on how you feel. So if you're feeling anxious, what that tells you is that you're having anxious thoughts. If you're feeling overwhelm and pressure, then you're having thoughts to do with overwhelm and pressure. Now, when we really start to understand this, it changes the game entirely, because you start to realize that it's not about changing things out there. It's about changing things in here, and not even changing them. It's about recognizing that your psychological experience is being created by thought, your thought, not someone else's, your thought. And guess what we have power over? Our thought. As it turns out, thought doesn't have any power over us unless we give it power. So, what do we do with this understanding? The way I see this is it's a bit like we're up and down a psychological ladder. And when we're at the top of the ladder, we feel like we want to feel all the time. We have inner peace, we have clarity, we have access to wisdom and creativity. We have a natural confidence. We're not worried about anything. And we're creating life and the world and events and people as easy and joyful and connecting. And things are just great. And when we're in this place, we can function how we want to function all the time. When we're lower down the ladder, things can start to look a little bit more stressful. Things can look a little bit more solid and concrete and fixed. One of the problems that we have is that when thought starts not looking like thought, and it starts looking like a fixed objective world, then we can tell that we've lost consciousness on some level, we've lost awareness. And the lower down the level you get, things start to look more concrete and fixed. Things start to look more challenging and difficult. So it's an internal ladder that completely shapes how we see other people, how we see life, and how we see events. And when we know that we're low down the ladder, it's a lot easier to know not to pay too much attention to how things are occurring to you, because you know that you're not seeing things as they are. So I'm going to invite you to consider, whereabouts are you on the ladder? Are you at the top? Are you somewhere in the middle? Or are you right down the bottom right now? How do things look to you? How are things occurring to you? What's your relationship to how things are right now? Is there struggle or is there ease? Depending on how things are occurring to you, will tell you whereabouts you are.